I'm Dr. Uche, a practicing physician who's been coaching others to write and publish their biographies since 2013. The first autobiographies I brought to publication were for my dad and granddad, and those took more than 5 years and lots of mistakes. On this channel, I will show you the tools I use to perfect the process so that you can have your biography done in 6 months or less without the delays and mistakes. Remember to subscribe and share with your friends. Let's dig in. Do you find yourself sometimes wondering about certain people in your family? Wondering what made them become how they are, how they were, if there's a story? I certainly think that would apply to a lot of people. And we're quick to judge sometimes, but we shouldn't. I'll tell you how a biography can help this issue. I always like to say that each one of us, our story is a combination of stories of various people. I can't write my story without saying something about my father, my mother. If you are somebody who was raised by yet another adult, maybe a grandparent, you can't write your story without saying something about them, okay? By the same token, we all grew up as part of a community. So there was that aunt, that uncle, those friends of my parents, maybe cousins. A lot of us had community around us growing up. Those who was fortunate maybe had grandparents nearby. That was not me, but some people did. So you kind of grow up in a community of people, and you know the one who's friendly, the one who's bubbly, you know the one who's withdrawn, you know the one who hardly ever says anything. And sometimes we're quick to judge people, like they're not friendly, they're not that, they're not this. But do you know there's usually a story? We all are individuals, and our life experiences impact us and turn us into who we become. If you're somebody surrounded by love and had lots of people uplifting you, praising you along the way, you're likely to grow up confident, right? What if you're somebody who had people beating you down all the time? Do you think you're likely to be confident? Probably not. You may have worked through it at some point, but you are more likely to grow up always doubting yourself. So, by the same token, a lot of these people we often look at and want to judge. A biography gives a unique opportunity to explain away how did they become how they became. You know, one example of a biography that does that so well is Becoming by the ex-First Lady Michelle Obama, where she talks about a particular grandparent, I think it was a grandparent, who sort of ended up very sour, bitter. Growing up, they never saw him particularly friendly. He kind of was just a very grumpy kind of person. But then when she started to explain a life of disappointment, somebody who was very smart, who was very promising, hardworking, who had moved from the South to Chicago hoping for a better life, only to see that it's not as wonderful as it seemed. He still had no opportunities because of the color of his skin, because of things like that. He thought it would be better, but it wasn't. There was still rampant discrimination. And he unfortunately had his goals and aspirations kind of snuffed out by society, and he became a bitter, sad person. So when you understand context, we are often more forgiving, okay? And that's one nice thing about biographies. Biographies can give context. We understand by reading what others have written, and we have a unique opportunity to explain people who say my child may not otherwise understand, right? Say somebody in my family, my child would not understand them, but because I've explained my child can read and understand and be more forgiving. And I think that's the beauty of biographies, something we ordinarily would never think of sitting down to say, hey, sit down, let me explain why this is that way. But in a book, you get to write it down, you get to spill it out, okay? And explain, and somebody else can read at whatever time, and everything suddenly makes sense. What do you think? Are there people in your family who you feel you would like others to understand better? People you knew who maybe are getting older and the younger generation don't understand them, and you have some insights to share? Let us know in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video.